Hey guys, James here with Major OSC, and this video is going to be fun. We're going to be covering FM modulation in conjunction with pulse width modulation using square waves. And it's going to produce something pretty neat. And well, I thought it was pretty cool. I've done something similar to this on the Summit, but Hydrasynth does things differently, and I really like the results that came from this. But there's just a couple of quirks and tricks that have to be done along the way, including using Mutant 3 and Mutant 4 both as pulse width in pulse width mode, and I'll explain that later. But anyways, I'm going to condense this first part. There's two parts. The first one is basically me recreating the patch that I had made earlier, because that original footage I was so discombobulated and wouldn't have been good. So it's much more condensed this time. And then part two is actually the latter half of the original footage of me creating the patch, and I do a little bit of a better job explaining along the way. And it's a lot of fun because we're custom selecting wavetables. I kind of explain my process, at least for this purpose, and I'm hoping this video in general will help a lot of you out. And if you like what you hear, there's a whole patch collection available over at majorosc.com. It's called Ignition. It's wild and crazy and tons of fun, and I pretty much guarantee you will love it if you like this synthesizer. So yeah, let's get to the tutorial. Oh, and then there's a part two I'm going to post, or not a part two. There's a second video that I'm going to post, and it is all patches from Ignition 2. It's kind of an early look. So definitely check that out too. I'm going to post that on the same post as this one. Let's get to it. So this is what we're going to end up with, just to kind of give you a preview. Oops, that's not, hold on. So basically the only thing going on with this is mod wheel, right? But from there you can build a patch, because you can change the assignments from the mod wheel to other things. And I will cover that at the end of this. So, and then the more advanced one will end up sounding like this. Pretty neat, huh? Okay, cool. So where did it all start from? Well, it started from here. Init patch, right? We go to even simpler init patch. There we go. First thing we do, go to voice, and make sure random phase is off, which it should. Pitch bend to 0, vibrato amount to 0, because we're using the mod wheel, right? Pitch bend we might actually muck with soon here. Next thing we're going to do is select our oscillators. We're going to be using square waves for these oscillators, 1 and 2, right? Oscillator 2 will be modulating oscillator 1. So the FM, and the only thing we're going to be really hearing in the finished product will be oscillator 1. No volume on oscillator 2, no volume on oscillator 3, anything like that, none, right? So these are both set to square. Now we're going to need to make sure FM is turned on. We're going to set the depth at 0, dry wet at 100, feedback at 96, and our source is going to be mutant 4. Let me explain why. You might be asking, why wouldn't our source be oscillator 2? That's what you just said was going to happen. We're going to be modulating oscillator 1 from, with oscillator 2, FM style, right? Mutant 1, we're not going to be hearing anything from mutant 2, right? This is going to be idle, so let's keep it real simple. We're only dealing with these two as far as like what we're hearing. So you might, again, we're not, let me go back to where we were. Why would we use mutant 4 instead of oscillator 2? Because this is about using pulse width, changing the pulse width of oscillator 2 at the same time as adding FM to oscillator 1. We're doing all of this through mod wheel routings. So we're going into the we're going into the mod matrix and creating 3 assignments. Ordinarily it would be 2, but I'm going to explain real quick why it's 3. We're basically using mutant 3 and mutant 4 as pulse width. Why are we using 2 instances of it? Because it works better. Let me demonstrate. So mutant 3, dry wet 100, depth 0, pulse width, feedback 0. Mutant 4, same thing, dry wet 100, depth 0, ratio 1.0, all that stuff, 0 feedback. Let me show you what oscillator 2 sounds like when we're just using mutant 3 as pulse width. Now, let me show you how far, basically, pulse width can go a little further than that. I don't think this takes it to the edge. That's thin, but it can go thinner. It can go, like, disappear thin. So what happens if we turn it to, we'll give mutant 4 a chance to actually further pulse width that. Look at that. Basically almost nothing. On the summit, it lets you do it and actually just disappears and then comes back in, and it sort of sounds like a high-pass filter from hell. So I wanted to get it as close to that because it does something really cool when you're combining that with FM. So let's turn these back to 0. Mutant 3, 0. Mutant 4, 0. We're talking about depth here. We're going to keep the dry wet at 100. Let's go into our mod matrix. First modulation. Actually, we'll start in the middle. First modulation with mutant 3 is going to be mod wheel. Right? 2, mutant 3, depth 128. Second one, almost the same thing except mutant 4. Depth 100.5. I think I had it set on. Like I said, this is a recreation, kind of a condensed version. And what are we missing here? Well, we want this to also boost up the FM depth, right? Because right now, there's no FM going on. We're not hearing any. Not to mention, we still have oscillator 2 turned up and oscillator 1 turned down. I only did that to show you what was going on with oscillator 2, with it being the modifier. So now we're back to where it's supposed to be. We can hear oscillator 1. We can't hear any FM because there's no depth. Like I said, nothing going on with mutant 2. So that modulation for the mod wheel is going to be sending depth to mutant 1. Right? So let's set this to mod wheel. Right? There's the source. And the destination is mutator 1 depth. I believe it's going to be like 46 or 46.5. If I remember correctly. There it is, right? Pretty neat, right? Another thing you could do is just turn this off. You don't have to modulate at the FM. You could just do this. Just keep it turned up. Look at all that crazy shit, man. That is a big secret that I'm going to be using. It's not a secret. It's just a really neat trick using the double pulse width. That's really the trick to this, is using 2 instances of pulse width. And since mutant 4 is the sum of, it's using the signal from mutant 3, when you're using mutant 4 as the source for your FM, you're getting that extra pulse width. You're getting that real tiny little kernel of an oscillator happening. Like I said, let me remind you what it's actually doing. It's basically squeezed to nothing, right? I haven't tried this yet, but we could, instead of using pulse width regular, we could use squeeze, which is the kind of alternate, I don't know what it's doing, mirrored version of pulse width. That actually might be kind of cool too. You could try turning up the feedback of both of them. So let's see what. well, remember we had a little bit of a variation between mutant 3 and mutant 4 for how much depth we're sending, how much depth we're increasing for the pulse width. Well, now that I switched it over to squeeze, we might have to adjust it. So let's keep this one at 128 and maybe see what happens when we are adjusting this one. And it's maxed out, mod wheel's maxed out here, so we're going to hear the direct effect here. That's probably a little closer to them. All right, let's see what it does to FM now. Actually, all right, we got to get the volumes back. Okay, so we've kind of tweaked oscillator 2 to get it where we want it. Now we're going to go back, turn up oscillator 1, turn down oscillator 2. All right, we'll get out of our mixer here. And start playing around again. Doesn't work too well, does it? Guess we'll just stick with pulse width regular. And we'll go back and change that to 100.5 because that's, I believe, in the last video, that's where the sweet spot really seemed to be at. Derp, derp, derp. Come on. Show me 100.5. Come on. There we go. All right, but isn't that nuts? Feedback back up. 96. Yep. It's a little finicky, but yeah, it's a bigger sweet spot than in most cases. But yeah, the way I have it on the patch is I have this modulating it, the FM, along with it. So you start with a clean kind of square, a saturated square signal, and then it turns into FM gnarliness. Almost has like a flanger effect. All right. So let's cue up part 2 of the video. And remember, part 2, what I'm doing in part 2 is building from there. I'm constructing a wavetable to go along this linear path of the mod wheel, right? To kind of custom fit each wavetable to wherever it's at in the FM. And then after that, I make some additional mod routings that include aftertouch. Oh, and I also I transfer it from the mod wheel, and I transfer everything to envelope 3. Envelope 3 essentially doing all the work, but then the mod wheel turns up the sustain of envelope 3, and essentially that basically turns on all the parameters. So it's one additional modulation, but then you can also kind of characterize everything to have an attack and a decay and that kind of stuff. So we start to stylize the patch essentially at that point and to give it some transience and some kind of personality. So here's part 2. I'm gonna start that. Now we could go and use anything for oscillator 1's wavetable. Square. We could do pulse. I'm just gonna cycle through a few. Cool, huh? Let's see if we can get something a bit crazier by having the FM go up more than 43.5. Actually, that might actually be better and less. See what I mean by less is more sometimes. I made a post on the Hydrasynth group saying to turn up the feedback to 100, way past 100, and then turn the depth up just very slowly, and it just starts to get nuts, even by like 10%, Very neat. Even better, what if, you know, all sorts of possibilities open up now that you have a good texture to start with, or a good sweep, rather, you know, a range. What if we did this opening with the mod wheel too? Try it again, like that. Or better yet, what if it actually, you know, that's not a great harmony right there at the top. So what if we adjust it ever so slightly so it ends up here? That sounds fucking cool. Let's do that. In fact, let's add some feedback to it. Sweet. Let's go do that. So our next modifier, instead of wavetable, we're going to be using mutant 2. Whoops. We're going to use mod wheel. And actually, you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to make this envelope 3, and I'm going to show you a trick here. So we're going to convert first. I'm getting a little off subject, but I'll explain everything. We're going to convert all these to envelope 3, right? And including that one we're supposed to... envelope 3 is going to do there. Depth, okay, like 30-something. Right, nothing's happening now with the mod wheel because we just unassigned it from everything. One assignment does the trick. First, go into envelope 3, turn your sustain all the way down, decay all the way down, attack down, everything else like that, just as it is. Now we're going to have mod wheel turning up envelope 3, sustain. One of my biggest gripes with the Summit is that you cannot fucking modulate sustain of any of the envelopes at all. You can't. I don't understand why. There's a reason for it, but with the FPGA it couldn't handle it. But this sucker can handle just about anything you throw at it, and it does not slow down. It does not delay. It's the only synth in history I've ever seen where you could just throw oodles and oodles of modulation at it, and it just keeps going. I've heard about the Andromeda, which is a completely analog polysynth, fully like VCOs and all, and it has a ton of modulation abilities. But what I've heard from guys who really dove in is that the more modulation you do, the worse off it gets. Shit starts to slow down. Things don't time correctly, or just are just sluggish. So, anywho, just keep in mind as we're doing all this that we are very privileged to have such a powerful bit of sound creation in front of us here. So let's get back to it. Mod wheel is going to be turning up the sustain of envelope 3. Right back to where we needed to be. And it's actually sounding pretty good. Let's turn the depth down a little bit. So the range, we're going to play with the range right now. So as you know, we're with Mutant 2, we're working with sync, oscillator sync. That's our second choice right now. Source, I guess we'll tinker with that in a little bit too. And we're going to turn feedback up. We did that because it added a bit more character and a bit more grime. keep it subtle for now. And what we're going to have is a macro to adjust this. That would be mod slot 4. Let's do that right away. Macro right here. Let's call this macro something random like something, come on, something fun. Give me something itch. Jian Bing. Dominic, help me out with that one. What the fuck does that mean? You know what? Fuck it. I don't know what it means, but we're going to use it. That will modulate. That will, adjust. Oops. That will adjust the mod matrix depth to full mod matrix 4. I think we only need to go up on like another 100 or so. I'll just max it out anyways. Doesn't matter. Now, essentially what we have now is an ability to control the range of Mutant 2. Now, we're still pushing it, with the mod wheel, but, bone stock, it's right where I want it to be. If you ever want to get crazy, right there, boom. In fact, let's go back in to that, Jianbing macro, and let's let's also set the button value to be maxed out. Or, let's see what it sounds like. Oh, another suggestion for an update. Make it so it's not a system setting. Make it so it's a parameter where we can toggle these buttons so they can go into toggle mode. So basically you have to hold it down to keep it on and then you let go. Right now it's a setting you can enable, but it's not per patch, and I really wish it were, because that's a good thing to have on some patches, to have that ability. You can get real rhythmic with it and start punching around and stuff, especially if your hands off the keyboard and something's already going and just start going to town. But okay, so we got a good macro. We got a good thing going on with everything so far, and we only have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 mod slots used so far. That's it. Okay, so we're gonna make another macro real quick called depth. And what this is gonna do is this is gonna be setting envelope 3 sustain up. It's basically gonna move. It's like moving the mod wheel. And it's also going to program envelope 3 to have some characteristics. So the attack is going to move, the decay is going to move, that sort of thing. You'll see what I'm about to do. It's going to be basically one mode of playing it, or one way of playing it. So let's just call this depth. Probably go back and rename it more specifically. Well, maybe distort? No, I kind of like that one. Yeah, let's do that. Well, that means distortion. Fuck it. We'll just stick with depth. I'm so fickle. And what we will do is make the envelope 3 sustain is going to go up significantly. We'll get it up to like, 78. We're going to turn it up to max so we can kind of tune how we want the max value. We're going to have... Now, normally I don't do this. I usually don't make macros that fuck with the envelopes, because a lot of times you'll end up going into a patch and modifying them yourself before you even realize that there's a macro that does it already. Then when you go to do that macro, it's already screwed up. Sorry about that. But that's what's going to be happening with this one. So depth is also going to be moving the attack. I already don't like that. I want to adjust the attack curve. I like it better. Why is it doing that now? what just happened here. Oh, I know what. Something got bumped. Here we go. There we go. Still doesn't make any sense. Why is envelope 3 making it sound like that? Something's going on here. This for a second here. Attack is still going on. I mean, it didn't make any sense. It sounded like that even when I adjusted the attack. Makes no sense. Wow, something weird. Now we're getting places. Okay, let's... Right, back to adjusting the attack curve here. Can't see shit. I'm gonna have to do this for now. There, now we can at least look at the attack curve. Can we? No. Oh, right, because we have to adjust the attack slightly to see it. Okay, yeah. All right, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm working at 0 depth. This is why I fucking hate using macros to adjust envelope 3. I'm starting to think it's just a bad idea, no matter what. That'll do. Okay, that's what we want it to be. Now we have to reset it. Let's try to recreate it. Attack is going to be... Attack is going to be right around there for now. And then we're going to have decay... should do it, actually. That you know what, I'm going to just add a tiny bit of the, so I went back into, sorry, I really got to narrate what I'm doing. I went back into the depth macro, and I'm going to add one more tiny little subtlety, and that's going to be the depth of mutator 2. Or maybe we just do the feedback. just give it some oomph. Because after all, we want you, or me as the designer, want you to enjoy everything that happens with every macro as likely as possible. So it sounded a little bit gutless without some more oomph or some more, you know, kind of something added. Another thing. Okay, so I'm happy where it's at right now. I'm going to hit save again to the FM slide. Actually, you know what? I liked the original, so I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to call this slide 2. After I'm all done, sometimes I pick which one is best or which one was the most cohesive and well laid out, and I just stick with that one. Other times I'll just save it all. Or one of them will turn into something completely different, but it's always smart to kind of save at different points as you go along. Now I have the original idea. I call that the trippy acid castle. Looks like, you know, walls of a castle, except they're moving. And then you also have what we just worked on. So the final step, the one I was meant to do to begin with, the part 2, oscillator 1's wave scan or wavetable customization. We're going to be using everything at 0, you know, right? The macros back down to nothing. And yeah. Now we're going to go into oscillator 1, and we're going to go into the wavetable list. And we're going to start, actually, you know what? We have to assign the mod first. The mod wheel, I'm sorry, not mod wheel. The modulation is going to be the source envelope 3, and the destination will be oscillator 1 wave scan 128. If you want to, you could do wave scan 15 or 25, and that'll just go up one table or 1.5 or whatever. So now at different points, we'll hear different things going on. What the hell? There we go. There's our bass, right? If you start spinning this real fast and then move the mod wheel, you should be able to find out right where it lands in the center of, you know, where the wavetable is fully kind of, where you can hear it the best. I'm not sure if it's doing morphing or crossfading or a combination of both, but anyways, there's no mathematical way for me to determine where along here we are. So I got to kind of figure out, this is halfway. So it's going to be somewhere between these two. And this is 3/4 of the way and stuff like that. So let's move it a little bit forward and tinker with wavetable 2. And we're going to have to go back and forth to kind of figure out how we want it to progress. This is where it's just all down to preference and what you're going after. And we're not really after anything specific, just other than sounding cool. And a lot of these already sound cool as it is, but, you know, we're exploring, so don't feel bad if you hear one that sounds fucking awesome to your ears and I just skip past it like it's nothing. Chances are I agree it sounds awesome too, but a lot of times I never even make it up to the high one. The higher numbers or the, you know, further. I do like Flux is good and Allweg is good. I really like using those. We're going to go even further, get it up to Xfer and square roots. We're now nearing the top. find something that goes from this into something else. Ooh, I think we might have found it. Ooh, yeah. I want to get out of that mid kind of territory, though, with this next one. So let's figure out what 4 is going to have to be. Okay, that's where we're something I should point out. All this stuff is going to really, really fuck up FM, like, very quickly, as you can tell. The simpler the waveform or the smoother it is, the better chances you are to having something cohesive. So when I'm flying through these, I know a lot of these are going to be just garbage, kind of mess. Not garbage, just, disorganized. Because they all have those, a lot of detail. We want stuff like this. That Vokes one is fucking awesome. It's a little too abrupt, though. Get sort of that kind of, that crunch, that gnar. Gets rid of it too quickly. That one might work. Come on, Flux, don't let me down. Ken, this is all you, even though it's probably just named after him, but I always blame him for anything I'm having problems with anything related to flux waves, wavetables, because our wonderful admin of the ASM Hydrasynth group is Ken Flux. So let's see if we can flux with it, yo. I sounded so white there, I apologize. That might work. Flux 5 is definitely on the maybe list. Alweg, I have a feeling it might actually trump it, though. It might outdo it, rather. I don't like using the T word. Woo! There it is. Sounds like it's going yoy. Let's just try doing this. Here we go. Oh, look, we already had Resin 2. Jesus. See what Bellevue does. All right, and then I think we'll go back to the resin later. Well, it's just 4 of them, huh? Another weird thing we have to keep in mind is how is Jianbing going to sound with it? We got something here. I like how it kind of goes and mellows back out when you go up top. That means we could probably use it up top as a lead, should we want to, in the future. You know what? I like the idea of doing keyboard assignments. I haven't used them enough. And basically where the position on the keyboard will be the modulator. So higher up notes will affect it more so than the lower notes or vice versa. So let's make the destination of key track and then the source be key track and the destination will be the envelope 3 sustain, because I want the envelopes to show up a little bit up top. So envelope 3 sustain. Hope the gate isn't clamping my voice and making me cut in and out too much. Oh, this has to be turned up slightly for it to work. There we go. No, actually. Oh, man. I'm going to have to modulate all the parameters that this modulates, this macro, if I want it to do what I'm thinking it's going to do. I want it to sound like that, but with a low to not be affected at all by the envelope. Obviously, you can't have that. Just because, yeah, to some degree, it's going to affect down here a little bit. That's got to be one of the gnarliest things I've made in a month. Whew. Okay, let's stop there. I think we found a cohesive wavetable. Let's review it. Square, resin 2, Bellevue 2, Bellevue 4, resin 3, resin 4, Sano 1, Sano 2. These two are optional. I think anybody, you can pick the last two. Oh, one more fun thing. Not done enough. Voice, go into the voice menu, turn pitch bend to 0. Go into mod matrix. Go to pitch wheel and we're gonna do something fun with this. I just don't know what yet. I got an idea. Pre-effects. Dry wet. Because after all, it is grungy. So we're gonna set the pre-effects to lo-fi. I'm actually surprised pitch wheel plus and minus isn't one of the destinations. So then let's have pitch wheel have the ability of pulling down something that's up most of the time, which is probably sustain on envelope 3. Let's have that happen too. Or maybe mutant 1's feedback? Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's clipping. Holy shit, what the fuck? What the hell's happening? Ah! Okay, and then pitch wheel as it goes up, we will have it affecting pre-effects parameter 1. Let's go back and dial in pre-effects. There we go. Now let's just have it dry wet, and then let's have that. Have it? Yeah, we have it set to dry wet. The same as doing. No, it's not going fully to dry wet, is it? We have to do it again? Because it's a half? Yeah, half value, that's why. We have to do it twice. Because this goes, well, you can't even see it, but was the good enough. Better. Because the pitch wheel is up and down, plus and minus, we're assigning it to it, and we only need positive values for the modulation. We're only getting half the amount of modulation steps that we normally would have if we assigned it to the mod wheel, right? So this just means that I need to, in fact, I'm going to kill that and just do them in order so I know what I did here. We're going to have to do it twice. Mod wheel, pre-effects, dry wet, 128. Mod wheel, pre-effects, dry wet, 128. No, it doesn't make sense. Something's not right. Something's not happening. Like, what? The mod... Oh, okay. I'm understanding this now. That is annoying. That is very annoying. So... yeah, I don't think we can do that. We can't do it like that. Because the mod wheel... it's stuck on the halfway point, essentially. That's basically what it is. So, because mod wheel is already halfway, turning this up... it's not going to do us any good. Or maybe it will. We just turn it up halfway on each of them. Wow, 128. What the hell is half? 64. Nope, see, it's already affecting it. We can't do that. Okay, whatever. Okay, I'm sorry to the desktop owners out there, but this is going to be a mod ribbon, or yeah, this is going to be a ribbon assignment. We're going to do pre-effects. We're going to have that modulated by ribbon as absolute, and then ribbon is relative. Yeah, so the relative one, actually no, we're going to assign that to aftertouch. Aftertouch is going to affect our... Oh, I'm going to have it inverse. Okay. Ribbon absolute will be the amount. Yeah, okay. Ribbon absolute will be the amount of pre-effects added. So it will be the dry wet signal, essentially. Oops. And the aftertouch will be the filter inside of it. Oops, we're too far. And I believe that's parameter 1. Sure enough. This is... oh, I'm getting way too much of a kick out of this. This will be a tricky one to learn how to play, though. I think we need to have pre-effects cutoff down to 0. I love how it just fades in and out. What the hell? It's not going to work. Oh, there it goes again. Oh, lo-fi 2. Let's try that. The hell just happened? I like the first one better. Clean. There. I think we're almost done here. One last little touch here. This is very, very intricate here. Mod matrix, envelope 3 modulates pre-effects parameter by half, right? We're not going to hear it unless we have this, we have the effect turned on, which is sliding the ribbon or just touching the ribbon up. It was absolute mode. And we have that turned up. Actually, let's do it a little differently. Let's have a new envelope because we can customize it to really sound cool. And let's, once again, I have it doing the same thing. That's more like it. And I think also the ribbon in absolute mode is going to have to add something. Oops. To give it a little bit more character. Or maybe something trippy like post effects, dry wet. Jesus, how am I clipping out on the Hydra? On the OBS, it's showing it's clipping out. Hope it's not. Okay, well, I mean, that one's really doesn't really matter, but I think we got something here. Save, save, save. And oh yeah, that's gonna be some crunchy, dubby, sort of gnarly electronica, electro something or other. I don't know. I think it's cool. Hope you enjoyed.